Has been working alongside city officials and law enforcement to try and address the violence in this town, especially domestic violence here in New Orleans. Within the past 24 hours, the department released a review on domestic fatalities. This morning, we're being joined by City Health Director Dr. Jennifer Avegno, and the reports on the kids are being, they're being caught in the crossfire in a lot of domestic abuse cases. And we look at this latest case where that woman was calling so desperately. She was at work at the time, telling the 911 people that my husband's threatening to burn my house down to hurt my kids. And it took 2 calls, and then finally somebody gets there.
Right. The real tragedy, Eric, in all of this is that we know from our analysis that children are generally present in incidents of domestic abuse at least 10% of the time. And in our fatality review, they were there 30% of the time. So it's incredibly high risk. And also, it is rarely the first time that someone has called for help in a domestic abuse situation when it gets to the point of a homicide. And that is the real challenge, but also opportunity is why are we not intervening more quickly and more in a better way to protect families in the beginning? Well,
and how many times does a woman, or a man for that matter, have to be threatened before police, a judge, the legal system step in?
Exactly. In our review, we have a pilot program now that actually is almost citywide. It's in 5 of the 8 districts, where we have advocates who contact every survivor of a domestic incident, whether it's intimate partner, whether it's family violence, within the first few days so they can get connected to resources and follow up. And what we find in the vast majority of those who have elevated risk factors, there was a firearm present, they were choked or strangled, there were children in the home, this is not their first time. We know that our officers have the tools to document a case, to document all of the lethality. We know that our DA has recently come out and said, we want to have Gwen's Law hearings for anyone with a firearm or choking, but we haven't seen on the judicial side the willingness to do this in the numbers that we need to do it.
And that Gwen's Law does work, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Jefferson Parish uses Gwen's Law very effectively. If you are arrested for a domestic abuse incident in Jefferson Parish, the judges have to opt out of doing it. It is an automatic Gwen's Law unless someone says, no, it doesn't meet the criteria. Here, it's very subjective. We know this is an evidence-based tool to get survivors the safety planning they need, a cooling off period for the perpetrator, and to really assess, is this a situation in which this abuser, if let out, is going to go back and cause serious harm?
And it's not just 911, it's not just the police department, it's the judges too, because a lot of times a woman or a man will be accosted several times. The perpetrator goes to court, a low bond is set, and they're out in a day.
Right, and these are high-risk cases. The Family Justice Center presented some really compelling data yesterday that when they're doing safety plans for hundreds of folks that they see, 2/3 of them report having been choked or strangled. At the point at which someone is choked or strangled, their risk of being killed goes up by 750%. So this is not just an argument or people needing to cool off because they got mad at each other. These are real life safety points.
And the 2 high-profile cases we're talking about, this woman who had her 3 kids burned to death in her house, and then the Asia Davis case where she called repeatedly, and the last time a call was made, she was dead.
Yeah, I mean, it just highlights the struggles. We expect that for the criminal justice system to work, it all has to function perfectly for someone, and it rarely does. And what that does to folks who are undergoing repeated abuse or violence is it really undermines trust in the system, right? I've called multiple times, no one has helped. I do want to say our advocates, our partners are on the ground every day, and folks, our organizations like Family Justice really can make a difference in the lives of survivors, but we have to make sure that they know about them, that they can get to them, and that this is established as the norm, that if you call for help, you will receive the help, rather than putting the burden on the survivor to keep calling and hope someone listens.
Well, and the norm, unfortunately, here is this happens a lot more than people realize, and the system fails them a lot more than people realize.
Yes. And I would just say that if we as a community place the highest priority on these cases, on eliminating the root causes of domestic violence and then making it so the system supports survivors, I don't think there's any higher priority. I think, there's pretty good evidence that domestic violence crime drive violent crime in general. And again, investing resources in the prevention space is so much less costly than the end result we're seeing now.
Why has New Orleans been so slow on remedying this when other parishes, other states have done so much more?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question. You look at parishes like Jefferson, like Lafourche Parish, which is a rural parish. They have more or less eliminated domestic violence homicides because they have a very aggressive stance, not only on firearm transfers, but also on use of
So why?
Gwen's
Is
Law.
it politics? What is it here?
I really can't answer that. I will tell you that as a city and from the health department perspective, we are doing everything we can. The administration, the council are giving lots of resources towards advocacy and towards this advocate response. But if we don't have a judicial system that takes this seriously, then we're going to sort of be stuck in the same place.
How do we get them to look at this more seriously?
Well, I think we have participated with the judges in bringing in experts from other places. We've had Jefferson Parish present to them on their system. I think we have a real opportunity with our criminal justice tech overhaul to see if there's a way that can we just bake into the system that if someone is arrested for domestic abuse and they have significant lethality risk factors, that Gwen's Law hearing is the lay of the land.
I still don't understand why we're so far behind, though.
I don't either, to tell you the truth. I will tell you that the city administration will do everything in its power, but we need, every level of the criminal justice system to function perfectly and with the view that protecting families and their lives is the highest priority.
Because I thought Helena Moreno hit the nail on the head yesterday in that council meeting.
Yeah, and that came from a place of real anger and frustration, all of them.